In this demonstration, we're going to check to see if the percent patient satisfaction at the Main Street office is less than 80%. Because this is a one-to-standard structure and we're looking at proportions, we will use the one proportion test. The file will be patient data. We set up our alternative hypothesis as percent satisfaction is less than 80%, and the null hypothesis becomes the flip side of that. Satisfaction is greater than or equal to 80%. Let's open our file and get started. In this demonstration, we're going to focus on column P, which is satisfaction in a discrete fashion. You'll see that it is full of the words satisfied or not satisfied. The way we get that designation is by looking at column I, which are the survey responses from the patients. If in column I, the patient gave us a score 4 or above, in column P, that will show up as satisfied. Anything less than a 4 on the survey will show up as not satisfied in column P. Also, we'll focus on column D, which is the office. Our alternative hypothesis is to look at simply the Main Street office. The only way to get the data that we need would be to parse through column P and try to count all of the Main Street office responses. That's very inefficient, so there is a feature in Sigma Excel we will use called Easy Pivot. To get there, we go to Graphical Tools, Easy Pivot, Entire Table Next, and quite simply we will say sat discrete is our x1 variable, office becomes the x2. We uncheck pivot charts and we check grand totals. What the Easy Pivot will do is create a table of counts of satisfied and dissatisfied by office for us. This will save us a great deal of time. When you hit OK, it automatically brings up this nice analysis. So it shows each office and the counts of how many satisfied and dissatisfied patients that we had. We're focused simply on Main Street. So at this point, notice that we have 31 surveys in total, and 16 of those were satisfied. We will either memorize or write those numbers down on the side, and we go to Sigma Excel, Stat Tools, Basic Stat Templates, and now we go to the one proportion test. What are the numbers on here? Where you see the yellow area on this, those are things that you can modify in your analysis. While we are testing proportions, the software really wants you to enter the counts, and it will do the heavy lifting of creating the proportions for us. The first thing we enter is the sample size. Some older versions of Sigma Excel have a little quirk that if you don't enter the sample size first, it goes out to lunch on you. So in this case, we'll just play it safe. We'll enter 31 as the sample size, and we move up. We had 16 satisfied patients. The box here where it says null hypothesis asks you what the standard value is that you're comparing to. In our case, it was 80%, so we enter 0.8. The next box down asks you what your alternative hypothesis is set up as. In our case, it is less than. So we drop this down. You only have these three choices. We choose less than, and immediately you get your analysis. Like anything else, we look at the p-value first. The p-value is low. That means the null must go. In fact, if you scroll over a little to the right, in this template, the software is actually telling you that you should reject the null, which is the conclusion that we should come up with. In this case, the percentage of satisfaction at the Main Street office is indeed less than 80%. We can come up with a little more information here. If you look down at this particular box, it shows you that not only are we 95% certain that patient satisfaction will be less than 80%, we're 95% sure that patient satisfaction at the Main Street office is less than 67.3%. In other words, if you were to go out and survey all patients from the Main Street office, we are 95% sure that that true population proportion would be less than 67.3%. This box here is telling us that the proportion in the sample was 51.6% satisfied. But as we make an inference about the population proportion for surveying all patients in Main Street office, we're 95% sure that that number would not be anywhere near 80%. It would be less than 67.3%. Let's move on and have you do one of these on your own.